So all the talk is about overcoming the coronavirus when we open the economy back up. The question I want to look at this morning as we're getting into this video is, why should we overcome this and how? And I want to specifically look at a quote. It's a more of a current event video this morning. Welcome, my name is Pastor Charles Wallace. This is not a Bible study as much as it is just going deeper in thought and kind of analyzing the world around us and looking at a couple of current events that are happening and kind of weighing in on how our worldview as a Christian is, what the implications are, I should say, of our worldview as we look at this question of why do we want to solve this and how are we going to go about solving this. Let's get started right away. First, I want to look at a quote that I saw by a female anchor woman on Fox News, and this was happening as the entire kind of coronavirus was just being labeled a pandemic. I don't have the clip for you. You can check it out on YouTube. But she made a very interesting statement. She was referring to the task force that was being gathered to try to address the problem of the coronavirus. And she made a very interesting statement. She was concerned. She was kind of in panic mode like many of the other news personalities that were kind of seated around the table having this discussion. And she said something like, what we need right now is not what the president just did. Again, this is not a political endorsement, pro one politician, anti another politician. This video is not about that at all. But she was making a statement about how the president had just chosen Vice President Mike Pence to be the individual in charge of the task force. And her opposition, or her problem with that, I should say, was this right here. This is what she said. She said that Mike Pence is a religious man, and right now we don't need prayer, we need science. We don't need someone who wants to pray. We need someone who wants to lean on science for solution. And the implication, well, actually, she didn't imply it. She just said it. Because Mike Pence is a person who believes in God and in prayer, he is a person who denies science and is not willing to use scientific methods to solve problems, i.e., therefore, as a conclusion, he's the wrong choice to be in charge of something that's a purely scientific endeavor. Let's dig into that, because I think it really asks and answers questions for us that I don't think we're thinking about as deeply as maybe we should, especially if you're a Christian and you're thinking about what we're going through right now and how does that impact your faith and your life and your family, which you probably are. So let's look at this just for a little bit. So here's her statement. She made a statement. I want to summarize it. I want to talk about the two worldviews, and then I want to take her statement piece by piece, because I don't think she stands alone in an initial understanding of how we might want to deal with this. The idea of handling this in a science versus faith manner is important for us to think about, because those two might not be the actual, those might not be the argument. In other words, it might not be that if one is true, the other is false. If the other is true, then the one is false. So I want us to look into that. Her statement was this. Her statement is that there's a moral decision. There's a right and a wrong way to handle this. The plan should involve a design. In other words, there should be something that we put into play towards a solution. She wanted a resolution, and this resolution should save human lives. That was her concern. Her concern in a nutshell was that there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. The right way is to make a plan towards a solution for the purpose of saving human lives. And that if we lean on what she called a faith-based approach, which again she embodies in the person of Mike Pence, because he believes in God, and he has made statements before that prayer is one of the main places that he goes to when he's looking for answers, for solutions. She said that stands in opposition to people who come at things from a logical, scientific way. And at this point in time, what we need is a scientific approach, not a hopeful, optimistic, faith-filled approach to solving the problem. So let's dig into that, because that's an honest and good question to look at. What is the best approach? And if we're Christians, how should we be viewing this? First thing I want to do is I want you to picture in your mind, we're going to play a mental game here. I want you to picture that I have in my hands two different salad bowls. And I'm just going to show my hands this way. I'm a little close to the camera, so it gets awkward if I get too close. So I have a salad bowl over here, and I have a salad bowl over here. And these salad bowls represent two different worldviews. One of these worldviews is that there's nothing but the material world that we live in. That's going to be this one over here. So in my right hand, not sure if you're seeing it as my left hand, but in my right hand, what we have over here is a worldview that says all that I can depend on in life is the material that I see around me. Matter and energy as it interacts is all there really is to life. That's a worldview. All right. On the other side, we're saying, yes, those things exist, but this worldview is saying there is more than that. There is a supernatural world. There is more than just a materialistic world. And some of those things help me to understand and explain why I make decisions about life, which is what we're talking about. How do we make decisions about the coronavirus? Why are we attacking it? And how do we plan to attack it? All right, so the interesting thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is they believe that one of these comes from a scientific perspective and the other doesn't. One of these comes from a faith perspective and the other one doesn't. Let me recite these two again, and then I want to explain how both of these approaches come from a scientific place to make a faith-based assumption. All right, let's just follow the track with me here if you don't mind. So if I'm a materialist, what I have done is my experiences, my reasoning capacity, my traditions, everything that's been part of my life's subjective encounter with the world around me has led me to believe in a scientific way that the best possible answer to explain why we're here and what is here is simply the interaction, the random, unordered interaction of material around us in a chaotic chance kind of an explanation. That is this salad bowl of thought. And all the ideas, all the little parts of the salad that are in there that I have to choose from when I pick out why I believe or how I should say I understand life and the things that are going on in life come from this worldview. And it's a no God worldview. It's a materialism only worldview. It's sometimes labeled atheism. Now, it's a belief system. It's a belief system that helps me understand the world around me, but it's based on facts about my life or my experience or my subjective view in the world. So these facts have lined up for me in such a way, this is not my worldview, but if I held this worldview, these facts have lined up in such a way that I hold a worldview that says the material around me is all there is. That's all I can put my faith in, my hope in, my trust in. So I don't believe in things that are outside of that material world. That's this salad bowl of thought over here. That's the goodies that I get to choose from when I make decisions about why to overcome something, how to overcome something. Okay, there's the other salad bowl over here that says there's more to life than just a material world. And the people who believe this believe it because they came to that conclusion by a series of facts. Their own experiences, their own traditions, their own reasoning capabilities have brought them to a conclusion that there's more to life than just the material and the interaction of energies around us. They would say things exist such as love and forgiveness and mercy and justice and immaterial things that can't be measured or quantified. This salad bowl over here doesn't have room for those non-material, the existence of those non-material ideas. They couldn't possibly exist in a real world scenario for the atheist or the materialist, I should say, in this bowl, because the only thing that we really put faith in over here, and it's a faith, but the only thing we put faith in is the material world. And we believe that. We believe we're right. It's important to recognize skepticism is often taken to an illogical inconsistency when I say we can't know anything. If I really believe I can't know anything, then you can't know that statement you made about not knowing anything is accurate, right? You have to actually believe that what you believe is correct. Otherwise, your perspective is not worth the time of day, because if you don't believe it's correct, well, then there's no point in talking about it. It doesn't hold any value. But many people believe that the material world is all there is to it, and that's a faith. They come to that faith, though, through facts. Through the way that they've seen the world around them, they come to the faith that all there is material. Other people, through the facts of life, through the experiences of life, through the traditions handed down to them, they come to a faith, similar, both of these are coming to a faith, that what exists in the world is more than just material. And I gave you some things that can't be quantified: justice, mercy, forgiveness, patience, kindness, goodness. Those things you can't tell me how many units of love that I can buy from you. It doesn't work that way. You can't have units of forgiveness. There is no measurement. There's no standard we can all hold to that. It's something that's beyond the material world. And so, coming back to the statement that our anchor woman made, she made a statement about how to solve the coronavirus problem. And her concern is we shouldn't be pulling from this bowl of faith. We should have people who are pulling from the bowl of facts. And the false opposition, the false conclusion is that to believe one is to not believe the other. To embrace one is to deny the other. The truth is, people who believe in God or the existence of something more than the material world come to that belief based on scientific facts. They don't come to that belief based upon wishing upon mystical, hopeful non-realities, any more than the person who comes to a belief that there is no God comes to that for no logical reason. Both of these worldviews are held by people who have come to them because of the experiences of their life, the traditions, the culmination of their own reasoning and thought capacities. In a scientific manner, both people have come to these two conclusions. There is no God, there is a God. So the implication here from our anchor woman, and she didn't stand alone, of course. There are many other people who are concerned that Mike Pence would be someone who elevates the dependence upon God to a place that feels uncomfortable for someone who only believes in a material world. This was the concern she was voicing. She doesn't stand alone on that, but I want to address it. Her statement had 4 facts that I think we need to look at. The first fact is she made a moral statement. There's a right way and there's a wrong way to approach this pandemic, which is very interesting. By nature, if you believe there's nothing but the material world that we live in and we exist in, then you don't get to pick out of the salad bowl of morality. That only exists on the God side, on the belief that there is something more to this world than simply the material interactions of matter and energy. If all there is the material interaction of matter and energy, that's this salad bowl of thought. If that's the one you eat out of for purpose and decision and planning and resolution and meaning in life, it's nearly impossible to come to the conclusion there's right and wrong. It's nearly impossible to come to the conclusion that I can make moral statements about something because there's no moral law, no code, no authority on which I can make those statements of correctness, of morality, of right and wrong. Right and wrong is completely subjective. So you might say, if you held this worldview that all there is materialism, or kind of this atheistic viewpoint, there is no God. If that's your worldview, it's very hard to make a statement of moral correctness or incorrectness. And that's the first kind of fallacy that I saw in her statement. She decides there's a right and a wrong way to handle this. Well, in order to do that, you have to elevate what she called the Mike Pence bowl. You have to prioritize the salad bowl of thought that she said we need to deprioritize. She stepped right over there and took a bite out of that salad and said, the first thing is there's a right and a wrong way to do this. Well, not if you believe in only materialism. There is no right and wrong way. There simply is material that exists. And however it exists and moves about the universe, if we believe it should be acted upon, it has to be acted upon by some kind of an outside force to set a standard. So that was the first kind of a fallacy of thinking that I saw in her statement. But real quickly, there was a second one that came. So not only was there a moral statement made, which doesn't hold much ground when I prioritize a material-only perspective in life. The second thing that she elevated, where she picked kind of out of the salad bowl of a belief in God, was that there should be a design. There should be some kind of a plan to how we solve this. I thought that was really interesting because in a world of nothing but chaos, chance, and accident, there's no room to believe a plan which requires agency, thought, a being of intelligence that acts beyond just the interaction of material around us. There's no reason to think a plan should work. There's not. You wouldn't, if you elevate what she called a purely scientific perspective, which might have been a little convoluted. Maybe she had some of her ideas crossed. But the idea that we come at this problem from a purely scientific and de-elevate the status of God, prayer, dependence on supernatural, but elevate the status of material only, well, it's very hard to come to the conclusion that a plan is necessary, because what would be necessary with that worldview, what would be consistent with a no God worldview, is let chaos do what chaos is going to do, because agency doesn't matter anyways. There's no such thing as agency in this world. But she doesn't imply that. She picks once again from the salad bowl of the existence of God and puts it into the salad bowl over here to eat, and elevates a non-God worldview based on presuppositions from a God-only worldview. So a plan, a design, a way to solve this. Though the third thing that comes forward is the need for a solution. And this is interesting too. A need for a solution kind of depends upon the laws around us interacting in such a way that we can depend upon those laws to provide conclusions. In other words, if we were to take research samples of this virus, we would find results, we'd find conclusions. That presupposition is based upon the fact that laws will replicate themselves. The universe has standards, constants under which it works. Well, that's not consistent with a materialistic worldview. A materialistic worldview would believe that there aren't really solutions to this because laws are a construct of the human mind. They don't actually exist in real time. Now, not many people actually believe that, but they don't realize that their worldview caters to that argument. And so this argument that there is no God also holds that solutions are meaningless because solutions require some type of consistency built into the universe. Sir Isaac Newton was famous for his work on math and physics and science, kind of blending them all together. And a statement he made is, I do science to understand and explain the things of God. It only makes sense to do science because there is a lawgiver on which I am understanding how the rules work, how they've been put into play. And so to assume that a solution can be driven from a world that's nothing but matter and chaos and energy is inconsistent. So once again, we're digging from the salad bowl of God exists to elevate the thought philosophy and the worldview that we should push for a solution based on God not existing, on non-faith principles. And then the fourth thing she does is interesting in the statement too. She also elevates human life. She has a preconception that human life is important. And you may be listening to this going, well, duh, Charles, of course human life is important. Is it? Think about your salad bowls again. Think about the worldview that is held by each of these. One of these says all that exists is matter. There's no direction to that matter. There's no agency, God, entity, spirituality, supernatural, anything acting upon anything. All material is equal. It's all energy. It's all moving in a chaotic, unordered way. That's why we have evolution. That's why we have the random order of events. You have to ask yourself in a very honest way, if that's what you believe, if that's the way the world is, how do we come to this fourth conclusion that life is valuable? How do we come to this conclusion that somehow life is above just the chaotic interaction of material forces? It's very hard to come to that conclusion from a worldview that is anti-supernatural or anti-God or pro-material only. And when someone comes to that belief in life, to me, and again, I'm free, I'm open to whatever opinions or perspectives people might have to the contrary. It's very hard for me to see that worldview and still think of life as valuable. Why does life have value among the chaos? Why does life have value among the interaction of other things? Why is not a particle on the farthest reach of space just as valuable as I am over here on planet Earth? And if you were to read atheists and evolutionists, that would be the philosophical argument. That's the angle they take, that our life is nothing but a chance. We're no more valuable than anything else. As a matter of fact, we're just an accidental chance that never should have happened. Those type of philosophical approaches you hear on a regular basis for people who hold this philosophical approach that materialism is all there is. So once again, I'm going to look at these two salad bowls of thought, because what we find out our anchor woman did is she pulled all of her vegetables and goodies out of the salad bowl of people who believe in God in order to de-elevate a belief in God and elevate what she called a belief in science. And I just think in our culture today, we do this a lot. We think somehow God stands against science. But it's important to realize both people who hold both views, if I was just to view two people holding these views in front of me, right? The view that materialism is all there is, the view that materialism and something supernatural is what there is to life. Both people come from science. Both people come from, neither one of these people are idiots. They both come from a perspective that my experiences, my rationale, my traditions have taken me to a place where I believe in faith one of these is true. Both of them cannot be proven beyond a shadow of doubt. It doesn't matter who you are, how religious you are, or how a-religious you are. You cannot present either one of these as a purely factual. It's going to involve subjectivity. It's going to involve faith. It's going to involve you putting faith in the events as they have happened in your life towards a conclusion of one of these or the other. But what we see in the solution that this lady presented was that she picked out of the other salad bowl. She picked morality out. There's a right versus a wrong way to solve this problem. All right. She picked a little bit of design out. There should be a plan, not chaos. And then she picked out solution. We should follow laws, and science is made up of laws and repetitions, and we should test people, and we should go through scientific rigor in our solution. We should come up with a solution. And then she picked human life is important to save. Well, you see, none of those things exist inherently in the salad bowl of chaos and materialism. They don't exist over here in the worldview she said that we should elevate, and they do exist unanimously in the worldview she said that we should de-elevate in order to solve this problem. I think it's really interesting. As Americans, we've taken a very Christian, monotheistic perspective on solving this. We've decided that life is worth saving. We've decided there's a correct way to do this. We've decided that solutions should involve a plan. All kinds of plans are out there. We've decided we should come to a solution. We're not looking at this as, c'est la vie, whatever happens, happens. We'll just let it happen and move on, because we all know that we're nothing more than matter and energy floating around the universe in an unordered, randomized, chaotic fashion. Nobody has approached the coronavirus that I have seen in that type of perspective. Nobody has looked at this virus like it's just survival of the fittest. It should do what it does, and we shouldn't complain about it. We shouldn't worry about it. We should just let it take its toll. Nobody has approached it that way. I haven't seen anyone in America take that type of perspective. Nobody has really eaten out of that bowl of materialism, out of atheism. They have eaten out of the bowl of it's important for us to do the right thing. It's a moral decision. We've sacrificed to make a moral decision. Moreover, we've decided that there should be a plan, and we should follow that plan, and we should work together for that plan. We've decided there should be a solution based upon laws that we see happening in a standard and organized fashion in this world. And then we've decided that human life is important. We will sacrifice money, economic value, and trust God down the future, do I dare say, with what that ends up being, because we've trusted that what God has said about life is true, that life is more valuable than everything. And the only way that we would do that is if we have some kind of inherent trust that God will make up for that down the road. We are believing in something non-material to make that choice. If we were simply believing in the salad bowl of thought that says material is all there is, we are wasting our time trying to save people, because there's nothing in it. There's nothing down the road for us in saving people, right? Because eventually, right, everyone's going to die anyways. In a material-only world, eventually everyone's going to die. In an atheistic understanding of the world, everyone's eventually going to die. So what's the value in saving life? Well, that sounds terrible, right? Well, that's the logical conclusion of a material-only existence. So what has actually been elevated in American politics, in American life, and in discussion is this need to save people, that people are valuable. Well, that comes inherently by a belief in something more than the material. We can all argue about what that is. I'm a Christian. I believe that's the God of the Bible. I believe that's the best explanation. That is the science that I believe in. That's led me to the conclusion by faith that this is the right way to go. There are many people who feel like the evidence have led them to an atheistic perspective, and by faith they stand on that. Neither one of us can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that one or the other of these are correct. But I think it's interesting to note that as we look at why we should solve this coronavirus problem and how we should solve this coronavirus problem, I don't think we really believe that we should de-elevate prayer and the supernatural world. We've actually taken all the elements that are within that salad bowl of thought. We've taken the carrots and the tomatoes and all the stuff out of there, and we've eaten those. Those are the things that we've digested as we looked at how to solve this and why should we solve this. So I encourage you, keep that thought in your mind as you're thinking. I know this was more of a philosophical approach today. This wasn't so much of a Bible study, but I think it's important for us to note that the solutions and the way we approach life really is dependent upon our worldview. The way we see the world around us really plays out how we find meaning and purpose and design in what's going on. As we continue to walk through this time together, I know there will be a time when we find a solution. I know our medical personnel are doing their best, and of course, shout outs and props to all those who are on the front line doing all that. We're praying for you. We're thinking about you. We do believe that prayer works. We do believe that God has a purpose and design. And as a Christian, I do believe that human life is valuable, and we should do all that we can reasonably to save human life. We do know that at the end, each of us will check out with our time card and stand before God. So be ready for that day. No matter what that looks like for you or me or maybe us as a large population, make sure that you're ready for that day. God bless. Have a good one.